Black Friday is still here. Take these deals while they're still active. Buy one, get one on all supplements at Jacked Factory. Link down below, and 33% off all clothing on vintagegenetics.com for your classic bodybuilding gear, clothing, apparel. Thank you very much for the golden support and enjoy the rest of the video. What's up, guys? Welcome to Vintage Genetics, and it's time for another leg day because it's all about classic bodybuilding. And last time at the Olympia, the weakest point of my physique were the legs in general, the quads, the glutes. The hamstrings haven't been improved, but it's time to truly get some more volume on the legs. So the first exercise we're going to do, like always, is the laying leg curl, making sure to get some blood in there, get some blood around the knees as well, and then move on to the rest. So let's get going. So, as I mentioned, we are starting out with the laying leg curl, and in this video I will mostly show you the first warm-up set and then the two working sets after. And as I always say, the warm-up sets are really only to warm up those hamstrings. All of that volume during the warm-up sets builds exactly 0% of muscle, yet they are very essential to do in your workout to prevent injury, to prevent not getting used to the weight and simply not being able to do the working sets properly because you're not in tune with the movement yet, and you simply get more blood in the muscle that way. It's a lot safer, you get warmer, etc, etc. So this is the working set number one, and that means we are going to failure with a weight that brings us in between 8 and 12 reps. So during the working set, what you really want to do, and you want to standardize this. And what does standardization mean? It means you have to do the same method of execution every single time. So the standard form here is full range of motion. Now, a lot of people, especially during the working sets, they kind of start to wane off of full range of motion and start to destroy their form, basically. Why? Because they want to beat their logbook. So for example, if last time I did 10 reps of 50 kilos and now I want 11, and I feel during the set I'm not going to be able to get 11, what happens then? Well, some people, they will start to swing a whole lot, start to shorten the range of motion just to be able to get to beating that previous record. But that is not what it's about, guys. You can also progress a lift, you can also stimulate the muscle more than enough just by increasing the execution of your form, of the movement. So you don't always have to do more reps than the last time or more weight. If your form is better than last time, if it's a hard set, then yes, you will have built muscle, because that is enough of a stimulus from your brain to your muscles to say, okay, this was hard and I'm not really used to this because the form was even better, the muscle was engaged better, so let's put some extra muscle mass here to make it easier for the next time. Okay, guys, time for the second movement, the second isolation movement. Pretty much a pre-exhaust movement, but this is the leg extension. And remember this, guys, this might seem like a simple movement just to get warmed up and to pump up the quads, but this at the same time is the only movement that can fully shorten the quads. So if you want those quad details and that fully developed quad, you can't only rely on squats and leg presses. You have to do this leg extension. So go all the way up, because if you don't go all the way up, it's a wasted set. So let's do this. Okay, guys, the leg extension. I have said this a million times, at least over 9,000 times, but I'm gonna say it one more time, because the leg extension, you have to do this exercise, and one of the reasons why is because you can see it right here. you can fully shorten the quad. So those 4 muscles on top of the leg, the front of the leg, you can shorten most of them at least to the maximum of their contractile ability compared to a squat, a hack squat, a leg press. All those heavy movements, they are not capable of making those muscles as short as they can be. The only movement that is capable of doing this is the leg extension. So if you really want to know how to do the leg extension properly, even though beyond properly, you should watch Tom Platz doing leg extensions back in the day in the 80s. He goes nuts because he extends the leg upwards like beyond a straight leg. It's like it's going the other way. Now that is the extreme version, but at the same time, look at his quad development. It's still, for that era and even this era, out of this world. Yes, he did a lot of squats, but he also did a lot of leg extension and leg curls, isolation movements, which both serve a unique purpose in building those muscles. So, for example, if you want to build the biceps, are you only going to do a lat pull down? No. You're also going to isolate those muscles, and especially for legs, if you want those deep carved details, if you want to build some extra quadricep muscle, you have to do the leg extension. Always use full range of motion. So look at your machine, look at if it's able to go all the way down and all the way up, so you feel a stretch and a contraction without the stack clanging on itself. Then you got yourself a good machine and a good exercise as well. Alright guys, it's time for the first compound movement, which means heavier weights and some kind of squat. Right now we're doing the hack squats with reverse bands, which means the lower you go, the more tighter the bands will be, relieving pressure of the knees, but increasing the amount of weight you can do at the top. So we're going to do that, full range of motion. The deeper the stretch, the more the quads will stretch, the more the hamstrings and glutes will stretch as well, which all need to grow. Let's go. Alrighty guys, the first compound movement of the day. And this is the hack squat. If you look closely, we're using the reverse band technique, which means that the deeper I go, the more the bands assist in reducing tension on the knees. I'm not doing it to make it easier. I'm doing it so I can focus more on the muscular failure, so really making the muscle go to failure rather than stopping because of sore joints. That is a nightmare for a bodybuilder, and I'm pretty sure that there's at least someone listening and watching this video that has sore knees or a sore lower back or sore joints in general. Techniques like this, if you implement them from now on, according with a lot of good supplementation like Joint by Jacked Factory, for example, and lots of omega-3s to reduce inflammation, but using techniques like this prevents that joint pain in the first place, so you don't have to try to fix it with supplementation and stuff. And that is the most efficient way as a bodybuilder to train, because look at this, I'm able to use heavy weights, go all the way down, feel an enormous stretch on the quads, even on the glutes, because I can go all the way down here without the fear of, injury of not only the muscle itself, but especially the joints. And another thing I'm using is knee sleeves, as you can see. So those actually, because in between your calf and your hamstring, there is now a piece of fabric reducing the tension on your knee. There's some physics going on there, but that's how it works. So it doesn't help you press more weight, but it does reduce tension on the knee, on the joint area there, because of that extra fabric being there to support that tension at the very bottom. I'm also wearing weightlifting shoes with an elevated heel because my ankle flexibility is a bit poor, so I won't be limited by that flexibility. I will be limited by my physical dimensions of the quads, the hamstrings, touching the calves. Alright guys, we just finished the hack squat. The focus for the hack squat is simply overall leg development. Today is a little bit of a quad focus day when you look at the leg extension, but also at this 80x belt squat, my all-time favorite leg machine. That's a compound.
We're going to put the feet closer together to target and stretch the quads more, but still go as deep as we can to also target the glutes, which always need to be bigger. So let's go.
And now guys, it is time for my all-time favorite leg exercise. I don't think I will ever do a leg workout, at least in this gym, without implementing one form of belt squat. So right now, we're using around, about a shoulder width stance, maybe just a tad wider in order to target the quads a whole lot, because if you can see my foot positioning, it is not forward a lot, which means that the closer your feet are under your hips, the more stretch the quads will experience. And you can see that the pump is getting there, because when I go all the way down, literally until I can't go any further down, and then go all the way up without feeling any stress or tension on the lower back, because if you can see, the belt around your hips is pulling the weight. So nothing is on your back, nothing is crushing your lower back from the top. So that is really the ultimate benefit of using a belt squat. On top of that, you can go quite heavy on this belt squat, really overload that muscle, increase and maximize mechanical tension in the quads without the rest of your body being a limiting factor. When I used to do heavy back squats, free weight back squats, I used to do those a lot back in the day, at least with 200, even 220 kilos. That is quite heavy, but it taxed my upper body and my lower back so much, and my cardiovascular system, that I needed at least 5 minutes or 6 minutes of rest in between the sets. And the limiting factor during the set was almost my breath, my cardiovascular stamina, rather than muscular failure. And even though training your cardiovascular system to have more stamina, to be better at those things, is very healthy for the heart, it is not the most efficient way to build muscle. So you want to work on your cardiovascular system, your efficiency, outside of the weightlifting session by, for example, doing high intensity interval trainings, cardio sessions on a bike, for example, but not during the workout. So when I do the belt squat, my breathing is just fine, and my muscles are the limiting factor, which is exactly the prescription a bodybuilder needs for muscle building, the recipe of building muscle. That's what I wanted to say.
Alright guys, this is going to be the last upper leg movement. This is specifically for the glutes and a bit for the hamstrings, pretty much a glute bridge. So I'm just going to do one warm-up and then one working set, and we're going to be increasing the working sets as we get further away from my Mr. Olympia prep, and get the body fat up a little bit, because you have to face it, if you're low body fat, you simply won't be as strong and you won't be able to get rid of fatigue as quickly. So let's do this for now.
So the glutes and the hamstrings, since especially the glutes is one of my glaring weak points that I saw at the last Mr. Olympia, when I ended up place 11 in the classic physique class. One of the biggest differences between me and the rest, it actually wasn't the hamstrings, it actually wasn't the legs, it was the glutes. All those guys standing next to me, especially the darker guys, they have incredible glute development, way deeper and longer tie-ins. So for someone like me who doesn't have that, I have to work on building just sheer mass in the glutes. And once again, you need to do some kind of, isolation movement there, or a hip hinge movement. So I like to do hip thrusts with a dumbbell, with one leg at a time, which you will see in another video. But also these hyperextensions basically, but it's a glute hand bridge, and really using the glutes to lift up my upper body and minimize the lower back involvement, because you don't want to go all the way up, because that will actually cause the lower back to be involved. You want to go as high as possible by only contracting the glutes, and that's when they go to failure, and you will build muscle there.
Time for the calves. It's going to be a seated calf raise. Keep in mind, full range of motion, and even a larger range of motion than what I've used to do, because when I trained with my coach in Mexico, he actually said, why aren't you going all the way up? And I thought I was going all the way up, but no. Whenever I get lean, what doesn't really get conditioned is my calves. And honestly, I do believe it's because I always put a range of motion of like 80%, where I skipped the above 20% because it didn't feel natural. But you have to go beyond what feels natural, you have to go beyond what you feel comfortable with. So let's perform that. Less weight, less injury risk, more muscle growth, and definition and quality. Let's do it.
Now it is time for the calves, guys, and as I'm keep mentioning this after having trained with my coach Stefan Kienzel, or @Boss of Outlaw on Instagram. When I was training legs with him, I really learned that if you want quality in your calves, you can build size using partial range of motion. But if you want quality, especially when you do a back double bicep, you put one leg behind you, you squeeze the calf, and you want to see the split in the two calf muscles, that's when you need to do full range of motion. I always implemented the stretch, but not the full contraction. I wasn't aware of this because it felt like I was contracting the calf, but I could actually go up a lot higher on my toes. So just give this a shot, lower the weight on whatever calf movement you do, and try to go even higher on your toes and see if you get an even stronger contraction in the calves. And I definitely do. It reduced the amount of weight I'm able to do by a whole lot, but I feel it so much more deep inside that calf. Just like when you do a concentration curl, for example, and you feel that incredible contraction in the biceps, you can only do that by using that strong squeeze, that peak contraction at the very end. And you have to do the same thing with the calves. If you don't feel a painful, but good painful contraction, you're simply not going through that in range of motion that will create that quality.
Alright guys, that was the leg workout. I'm very excited because this is one of those true workouts where I log my lifts and I make sure to improve upon the lifts the next time we do this workout. So this is one of the 3 leg workout rotations, and a rotation simply means these exercises I will do at the 3rd leg workout again, and then I have to beat these numbers so that I know objectively I'm progressing in the movements, but also I will put more volume in when I feel like I can recover from them. But anyway, don't forget to check out vintagegenetics.com for all your old school vintage genetics apparel and clothing. This, for example, is 3XL, and we have a lot more oversized shirts, but also regular shirts, Golden Arrow collection, sleeveless shirts, etc. And I really want to thank you a whole lot for your support and for watching. And don't forget to stay golden.